Hey, Bill here with 30 Minute Woodshop. Thanks for joining. Let me tell you, it's a Tim Hortons morning here in Southeast Michigan. 46 in rain. I don't know if you can hear it through the garage door in the mic, but I tell you what, it's pouring out there. Nice and cold and rainy. What can I say? Coffee's well deserved. But today, what I want to show you how to do is make a shadow box for an axe. Not everybody needs one of these, but I think the design process here is pretty cool. Now, I don't know if you guys are interested in the design process. If you aren't, you can skip forward, watch the cutting and sanding and all that kind of crap. But here's the deal. I'm a design engineer, been at it for years. I know how to start these things. I pull the axe up. You can see I threw the axe on top of a piece of cherry. Now, I put it on cherry for a reason. The sides are going to be this hickory. I'm sorry, this is not hickory. This is ash. So the sides are going to be on ash. All right. The handle's ash, and the cherry gives you a nice juxtaposition between the light ash and the dark cherry, and then it's halfway between the dark black head. So I actually did try it initially, walnut. So the walnut was way too dark. Kind of, this head faded into it, couldn't see it. This way you can see everything once it's in there. All right, now I just got this nailed up, hanging on a nail here, so I don't have to hold that. But it's going to sit something like this, and I want the case to be able to be hung vertically or horizontally. So when my friend gets this, he can hang it on his wall. One of the things about this piece of cherry is it's 7/8, so I'm going to have to carve off about at least a third of it because it's a little too much extra wood. I don't need that wood for hanging it. I want to have enough so I can hang, but I don't want so much extra weight. So I'm going to have to do that. Here's the other issue. I want the case to only come up about twice the distance of the axe head. So this is about 1 1/8 inches, so I want it 2 1/4 inches deep. And that part of that reason is the sight line. So when I walk up to it, I can see the names that are written on the top, bottom edges. Makes it very easy to see. All right. Also, I have to have enough room clearance between the glass and the axe head. And I am putting in an 1/8 inch to a 3/16 inch piece of plexiglass just to have something in there so it doesn't move around too much and doesn't fall out. So I need a little bit for the step back, a little bit for the groove, for the 3/8 or 3/16 plexiglass, and then I have to have some clearance. So it's going to be about 2 1/4 inches deep here. Let's come on in and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Here's a quick mock-up just to give you an idea of what it's going to look like if I use 2 1/8 inch sides, all right, with this width. Not too bad, but I'm really tight along here, and the sight line isn't too bad for the ones that are down here, but the couple that are on top, it's very difficult to see. So what I think I want to do is maybe widen this up a little bit, which means I'm going to have to stick a piece in the center or something, just to give it a little more width. But overall, this is great. So one of the things I would say, if you don't have one in your shop, you need to have a hot glue gun. A hot glue gun is great for doing mock-ups like this because that's all this is. It's just all held together with hot glue temporarily. This way I can see what's going on. I can make some decisions on it, and then I can strip it apart, clean the parts, and reuse them and move ahead. Right now this is all just scrap material I have laying around. So let's keep moving on. I think the next step is going to be to clean the edges up on this board on the jointer, and then go ahead and split it down the center and put in a piece of, I haven't decided whether I'm putting in a piece of cherry or maybe dropping in a piece of red heart or something like that in the center. It'd make kind of a cool little strip down there if I put red heart in there, wouldn't it? So another design decision. Let's keep working. My prototype is set up here. What I've got is I got 3/4 inch on each side. So I'm going to widen this by 1.5 inches. That should be just about perfect. I put 1 5/8 from the top of the head here to the top. and I just represented the bottom as a 1 5/8 also. And I may shorten that up a little bit, but this is pretty much the dimensions that I want to see. At this point, I have to make a decision. Do I want to split this piece and put a piece of wood in the center, or do I want to just band it on the sides? The advantage of banding it to the sides is the fact that I get this light wood, and that provides a lot of light reflection on top of this and on the bottom. I think I'm going to go that way. Also, quite frankly, it's a little bit easier too. So I guess the next point I'm going to do is I'm going to cross cut this field, and then I'm going to cut these two pieces and get them lined up to be glued together. And then I'm going to have to do a lot of planing to get this thing down to the right thickness. Let's keep working. All right, here's a real quick layup. All I did is just stick the parts together. Still work to be done, but you can see how it is fitting together pretty well. So let's keep working. I have my table saw set up for a 1/4 inch high by a 1/4 inch deep. All right, so what I've done here is use my brass setup blocks. If you don't have a set of these, folks, I definitely would recommend it. All I've done, like I said here, is set the 1/4 inch brass setup block between the fence and the blade, so it just fits, and then I brought the tooth up just so it just touches the top. So now I'm ready to go ahead and start cutting some grooves. The grooves I'm making, here's my test piece. Okay, the grooves I'm making are going to be these 1/4 inch wide, 1/4 inch deep. Actually, let me phrase that: 1/4 inch from here to here. All right, lip, 1/4 inch deep, and about 3/16 to 7/32 wide. That's going to accommodate the plexiglass, so I can get it slid in and slid out. All right, here's one of the downsides of doing it this way is that you can see there's going to be a little bit of a hole there. Now this is pretty easily filled up because it's end grain. I'll just nip off a piece to fit. That's 3/16 by a 1/4 inch. Slide it in there, glue it in, and sand it off. It'll be perfect. But I'll have to do that 4 times. So, and like I said, I'll drop those grooves in here. This is an end piece, but I'll do it in all 4 of them. And then one of the end pieces I'm going to actually shorten up so that I can slide the plexiglass out. So let's start cutting. So I like to see how things are coming together. And as you can see, I haven't cut the plexiglass yet or taken the stripped off the protective cover, but you can see this is coming out pretty good so far. No issues, no problems, everything's going together the way it needs to be. So let's keep working. All right, we're out of the clamps. Just a real quick test fit. I'll tell you, make sure you guys test fit, and test fit some more. You never know when things might not fit. You didn't cut it exactly right, but there we go. So our next operation is to cut the plexiglass for this. So let's go over to the saw, make some cuts, do a little more test fitting.
The case is out of the clamps. What I've got going here, you saw me do a quick sanding just to smooth off and even up the edges and get rid of any excess glue. That worked out pretty well. I came back and did a real quick 1/8 inch round over on all these corners. At this point, we're done sanding until the final sanding. I think I'm going to use 320 just to give it a really smooth finish. But now I have to fit the plastic. Now I've got it put in here, all right, so it slides in really nicely, but I got to cut it to length. So what I've done here is just, I've cut this piece to length, so it's exactly how long I need it. What I have to do now is mark the plastic so that I can cross cut it to the right overall length. And I'm doing that, there's a rabbit in here. And all I'm doing is pushing it up against this corner, and then I'm just going to mark right here inside. Now, pencil doesn't really work very well on the plastic. It gives me enough of a mark to get started with. So I'm going to use this knife, marking knife. And it's a little sticky coming in and out because I still have both layers of plastic on it. And then what I'll do is I'll just throw my square here, line it up, and use the knife to mark and score the plastic. So there we go. Now, let's go to the radial arm saw and give this a cross cut. So I mixed some epoxy up, and I didn't like the consistency, so I decided I was going to use some super glue instead. This should work out just fine, but let me do a couple things here. I want to pull this back a little so it's not fully on there. Mostly because I'm afraid to squeeze out. So let's put some, this is some thick gel super glue. This should work out pretty well, I do believe. So I don't know if you can see these here, but I put a couple marks. That's where basically I need to put glue between those marks. So this should work out pretty well. If not, I'll have to tear it apart and redo it. So all I've done here is just hold it, and I'll hold it in place here for a minute or two. And when I get done, it should be good. After agonizing over various stains and things I could put on this and how I wanted to do that, I finally decided I'm just going to throw a coat of, actually a couple coats of boiled linseed oil on this. What that's going to do, this doesn't require a lot of heavy duty protection. It's going to be hanging inside, so I don't need the film building of a polyurethane. I wanted something a little more than just a wax on it, though a wax would be pretty nice. But I think I just want that boiled linseed oil on here. It won't really change the color much at all, but it'll look pretty nice when I'm done. I like the look of the ash as it is and the cherry. It will allow the cherry to darken up a fair amount if it's left in the sunlight, however, because there's no UV protection on a boiled linseed oil, same as using wax. Anyway, let's get started. There we go. We'll let it dry up, come back, put another coat on, and be good to go. Well, I'm really happy with how this turned out. I had a lot of fun making this project. Few moments of angst in terms of the materials I wanted to use and how I wanted to look, or how I wanted it to look. I love the way this panel slides in and out too. Super easy to get access to the axe. Axe is held in pretty well. I can display it horizontally, vertically, and I don't have to worry about the axe falling out. I like the juxtaposition of the axe handle, the light axe handle against the field of the cherry field. All right, so it's easy to see. Worked out really well. It's been a fun project. Now I will say, don't constrain yourself to thinking of this as just an axe display case, because quite frankly, if I pull the axe out, it's dimensioned so you can put a veteran's flag on this side and actually have a veteran's rank and medals on this side. So you could use it for a shadow box, veteran shadow box, if you want to do something like that. If you're interested in building the project, hit see more, check out my blog link, and then go and pull the dimension sketch. Everything's there for you. It doesn't define the field, of course. You'll have to do that yourself, but it gives you all the overall dimensions, those kind of things, so you can determine what it is you want to build. Now, also down there are a number of tools and things that I use, so explore those. You may find some interesting things down there, some fun stuff, and something you might be able to use in the future. And on that note, folks, if you got something out of this, do me a favor and like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. So until next time, hey, good making.